Combinations. Jab. And don't let him think. Don't let him think, son. You heard him already. Now get on the inside, relax. Put your punches in, use the combinations. When you use the combinations, you heard him.
Emmanuel, do you like to demand that a fighter look you in the eye when you talk to him between rounds in the corner? Or do you assume if he's looking elsewhere, he's still listening to you?
No, he's listening still. You know, these guys, when some of them get looking in the eye, they still don't listen. I pay attention, and some of them just say yes, 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 and still don't. So it really doesn't matter to me.
Who's the best of all the fighters you've trained at hearing what you wanted him to hear?
I would say Vladimir and Lennox Lewis, I would say, and Tommy Hearns next. I would say those are the best for just following orders directly.
Does it take a certain egolessness on the part of the fighter to be willing to listen to you during the fight?
Yes, I think so. But also Oscar De La Hoya. When I worked with Oscar the fights, I worked with him. He did everything that I asked from with Camacho and David Carter. When I told him to change it, he did everything also.
So it's really professionalism that sets them apart.
You know, it's interesting. I'm saying Segura, he doesn't get hit clean. He may look off with his head is down. He's like throwing wide looping punches. But it's very hard to hit him with a clean punch. And he's still been dictating the fight for the most part.
Both guys are listening to their corners. If the corners have told them, go out and beat the hell out of each other.
I believe those were exactly the instructions.
Then they're following them to a T.
The point you keep making about Segura now, Emmanuel, that he doesn't often get hit cleanly. Is that too reminiscent to Prince Nassim Hamed at his best?
Yes, but Prince had just so much power, though. He had such spring. He could get tremendous punch from his legs, but this guy doesn't. He's just a looper puncher. But he dictates the fight, though. I give him credit, but he's always dictating the fight.
So then,
more so than even Prince Nash usually.
The power from the legs comparison would go to Bernabé Concepcion, the Filipino prospect we saw in the first fight.
Absolutely.
Segura looks gassed.
Yep.
Suddenly.
Well, those looping shots take a lot out of you. Even when you land on you miss. Everything he does is a wide loop.
And now Jay Nady's going to warn Canchila to keep the body shot up. Second warning, I believe, for Canchila. And he has had a good round as he seems to have gained confidence in his ability to control the flow.
Yeah. But Segura still, regardless of what, is always coming right back right away. See there, even he was right back in right away.
I mean, these are just unbelievably hard shots for fighters of this size, and it's every shot they're throwing.
Segura seemed to hurt Canchila with the left and then caught him with a right uppercut that snapped his head back. Suddenly the momentum flows back to Giovanni Segura.
Yeah, he's never really lost the complete momentum. He lost it for the one round, as Harold said, but even though he may be showing he's not as classy, he's still been dominating this fight, though.
What a round this has been.
Amazing. A time capsule round for the 108-pound weight class. Wonder if Mike Tyson appreciates what he's watching here. Big fan of boxing in the lower weight classes. Mike was always a little more structured than these guys.
Yes,
but there were moments when he threw hard, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, these guys talk about throwing every punch with bad intentions. This exemplifies that kind of approach.
Saw a little boy on Mike's lap. That might have been his son, Amato. Who would be just about 6 years old right now. Might have been. Round 6 begins. A wildly entertaining show in our last preliminary bout prior to the main event of Miguel Cotto and Antonio Margarito. Giovanni Segura from Bell, California against Cesar Canchilla from Monteria, Colombia, now living in Barranquilla. CompuBox numbers in the 5th round. Canchilla 39 out of 106 against 24 out of 96 for Segura. Together they threw 202 total punches. 189 of them were power shots. Ricardo Lopez functioned in this weight class. He was not this kind of fighter.
No.
Great Mexican stylist. Michael Carbajal functioned in this weight class. He could have appreciated a fight like this.
Yeah, compared to those two guys, you would actually say these guys, small guys, but you would say they're sloppy even compared to those two very accurate punchers. These guys are winging punches, but Canchila is a much better boxer, but he's lost his rhythm a lot keeping up with Segura.
Ricardo Lopez was the best tiny fighter I've ever seen.
A symphony conductor of a fighter.
Yes.
Had everything. Trained by the brilliant Mexican maestro Nacho Beristain.
Totally different from what we have back then at least classified as a standard Mexican fighter, which was a banger. But now the new generation, which is training and spending so much time here in America, and they're fighting more like American fighters now.
Yeah, it's interesting. Segura said yesterday, well, when I was growing up, I really appreciated Mexican fighters, Julio Cesar Chavez and Ricardo Lopez. And I said, well, that's like saying you appreciate coal energy and wind energy. It's two entirely different things. But he has a style that harkens to neither of them.
And they're throwing the punches with atomic energy. I mean, these are just, I don't remember seeing a fight at this weight class where this many, except for maybe Chiquita Gonzalez and Michael Carbajal when they faced off 3 times. But even those fights, they didn't have the second of the 3 fights, the second 2 of the 3 didn't have this kind of back and forth kind of haymaker exchanges consistently throughout.
And as round 6 comes to a close, we're going to go back and take another look at one of the world's most loyal and devoted fight fans, Iron Mike Tyson, who is seated with 2 of his sons, and I guessed wrong on the identity. It is not young Amato, but rather 2 elder sons, Amir and Miguel, who are with Mike at ringside tonight to enjoy the fights. A great American tradition, a father and his sons at the boxing matches.
Especially when the father's named Mike Tyson.
Who is a tremendous student of the sport,
yes.
Who can tell his sons just about everything about the history of the sport and the great fighters who preceded him.
Given the way Mike Tyson's lived, it's nice to see him ringside sitting with his son.
Better days.
Yeah.
Round 7 begins. Canchila with an 82-30 edge in connects over the course of the past 3 rounds by CompuBox count. Segura, perhaps a little arm weary, only 6 of 52 in the 6th round. Harold, how do you have it now?
You know, Jim, I agree with the CompuBox guys. 57-56, 4 rounds to 2. Cesar Canchila. Jim, I got to tell you, the last 4 rounds, he figured out that he's, you know, all he's got to do is not loop his shots, throw the jab straight, just like he did there, and he's going to control Segura. Segura looks confused. He looks beat. He looks battered. I mean, he's just not landing the looping shots, and Cesar's just totally outboxing him in the last 4 rounds. And Max, I got to throw in Rosendo Alvarez and Ricardo Lopez as one of the great light flyweight fights.
Yes, sir.
Jim.
Good point, Harold.
I don't think Segura's going to be able to make it. The way he's looking, the way physically and mentally, like he's pretty much finished now.
No, there's a facial expression difference. I mean, suddenly all the bravado is gone from Segura, and he looks very worried about his status in the fight.
And Canchila seems to be very, very comfortable with the way he is right now, the way the fight is going.
Yeah, the confidence I discussed earlier in regards to Segura seems to have been beaten out of him.
Yes. Well,
Doesn't look like an unbeaten fighter anymore.
No.
I wonder if perhaps, and we see a trickle of blood from his nostrils, I wonder if his nose is broken. And that may be a new experience for him and very discomforting for a lot of fighters.
just the fact that he is no longer the predator, which he's been in all of his fights, that he has become the prey now. Someone is actually after him. That's a totally new mental experience that he's never experienced, in addition to being physically exhausted. You're going to be tired, but you have a guy just dancing around back and forth. But this guy's putting pressure on you.
In 20 career fights, This is only the third time that Giovanni Segura has been past the 6th round. So he's into deeper water than that which he's accustomed to, and the crowd begins to boo as they realize that Segura is no longer fighting the way he did for the first 6 rounds of the fight.
Well, I mean, he was talking about understanding the language of a fight, and the language here is plain. He looks like a vanquished fighter.
The punches that was missing back in Chile earlier, he's landed them now for the first half.
The punches that Segura was throwing in bunches earlier, he's not throwing at all. And it's becoming a beatdown suddenly.
And even if